Hi guys, welcome to Windsome Cottage Garden. My name is Hannah and I'm so glad that you decided to join me today. I think in my last video I mentioned that we will be moving some pretty significant shrubs in what would have been this video. We started that project and I've got it filmed, but I have yet to film the conclusion because it started pouring in the middle of our project. To go out longer than I thought. We thought we'd be able to finish it before the rain came in and we couldn't. So you will be seeing that video quite soon, but as you might be able to tell, I'm no longer at the cottage. We're here now in the home garden. Now, I haven't really done a lot of videos on seed starting this year. I did a seed haul video. We did some stuff with the winter sowing method, which we will be checking in on an upcoming video to see how everything is going with those. But I thought in this video, it would be good to check in with the normal seeding process. It's been a really busy time of year. I think I may have mentioned in a video or two that February and March are particularly busy at work for me. So I am a little bit behind on some of the seed starting compared to where I would normally be. In addition, I didn't realize since I've moved since last seed starting season that my new location's last frost date is actually about a week and a half earlier than my previous location. Here, my last known frost date is May 18th. Now, I probably could start planting stuff out beginning of May, especially things that could handle a light frost. If you've ever researched last frost dates, which is really critical to know if you're in a colder climate, for when you can start planting things outside. Our extension of the Master Gardener program, which was a great resource, as is like the Farmer's Almanac for when your last frost date is calculated through Michigan State University. And the way they publish things is a percentage of how many years has already, like at that point, has already experienced the last frost. So for me, if I want to say 100% this is the last known frost date, that's May 18th at my New York garden. My previous place, I think it was May 27th. So when I did I've already done some seed starting, spoiler. Since it was busy, I didn't film it because that was probably, 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I'll give you an update on how those are doing before we start some more seeds. But it's okay that I'm a little bit late because even though my last known frost date would be May 18th, some years I'd be able to plant things out earlier, some things later, and some of the things I wouldn't be planting out May 18th anyway because they need soil that's warmer than it will probably be on May 18th. So all that to say, if you're behind on seed starting too, just like me, it's okay and it's still worth starting seeds. Now, one thing that I would consider is that's true right now when it's, beginning of April. If you're looking at like mid-May or end of June and your growing season is short, meaning your first frost in the fall is sooner, like you should calculate how many days of a growing season you have. You might want to look at, depending on the vegetable you're growing, how many days to maturity they have. All of this information should be listed on seed packets. Today, I'm going to be starting seeds that you would typically start 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date, which I'm about 6 weeks, so I'm not that behind. But in any case, I'm not worried about these things. I'm just glad I'm getting them going. Now, there is 2 varieties that I should have already started. I haven't started my coleus, which is recommended 8 weeks out. But again, it just means they'll probably be a little bit smaller. And those are things that if it's warmer when I plant them out, that's good. I also haven't started my geraniums. I should have started them when I did my tomatoes and peppers, and I kind of completely forgot about them. So I am going to start some seeds this year, maybe not as many as I normally would have if I was on time, but I think it's better to do it and have them maybe bloom a little bit later than not do them at all. That's the policy I'm going to be taking anyway. So we'll get some new soil prepared in trays so we can get these new seeds going. got all the seeds done. It took me quite a long time, which it always does, but I thought I would walk you through my setup and give you an update on the seeds that I've already sown. It was actually kind of tricky figuring out where to set up my seed starting stuff in this new house because it's the first time I'm doing it here. In terms of lights, I have a bamboo seed starting modular rack from Gardener Supply Company, which I really love, that stays up year round. In this house, it had been in my garage because I didn't have wall space quite like I did in my old place where I could put this. I ended up actually taking a cabinet off a wall that I didn't really use to give a little space right in my laundry room. It's not necessarily the best space. It's is a really pretty piece of furniture actually, and I feel like it's not wasted per se, but it could be highlighted more. I just don't have wall space in an area that was not on carpet. That was the other key thing. I wanted it not to be on carpet since, dirt gets around, especially when I'm moving in and out. When I'm watering, it could get a little damp every once in a while, and it's a lot easier to clean, tile or vinyl. So it's in my laundry room, and I'll tell you right now that actually I'm going to need to start potting up my tomato seedlings probably in a week or two, if not sooner. And in which case I'm going to have to set up my other type of grow lights. The other type of grow lights I have are like black stacking ones, also from Gardener Supply Company. I bought my first one 3 years ago, and then I bought some more 2 years ago. If I was going to add more lights, I would definitely do those. What I like about them is they're modular, and you could, in theory, build them and then take them down when you don't need them anymore. What I do is I will bring them in fully assembled, and they're going to go in my kitchen. I don't have them set up yet because I don't need them quite yet, but that time is definitely coming, probably in 2 weeks, in which case I'll get them set up. And when I don't need them anymore, I either take them apart and move them in pieces somewhere, or what's more typical is I just move the whole thing downstairs. They're super lightweight, which I appreciate, and they really serve a purpose. The other thing I like is the lights adjust up and down. The bamboo lights, they don't do that. And I know I just stopped it, but actually when my other seedlings first germinated, I actually had some things that I used to raise them closer to the light because they were stretching just a tiny bit. But anyway, let me show you the seedlings that I've already started and kind of give you an overview of what we planted today. Okay, and here she is, like I said, crammed in here. It might be kind of hard because it is dark, rainy-ish outside, so this is the majority of the light. The other light I have makes a hum, so I didn't really want to have it on. But up here today I sowed a 24 cell tray of cosmos. Now, I actually did do at the beginning, I think there's 4 rows of specific kinds, and then the last 2 rows is just a mix, but I didn't bother labeling them because I'm going to plant them all in one big mass. So it doesn't matter as much, and I'm familiar enough with the varieties I planted that I think I'll be able to guess what they are. So that is exciting. These are actually the things I, as you might have guessed, sowed a couple weeks ago. We have some brassicas that I'm actually going to begin hardening off soon. And then we also have all of my tomatoes and peppers. My tomatoes are looking a little sad. I actually think I need to give them some food, so I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. And the other thing that happened was I sowed these, and then I promptly went away for a bit. To be honest, it's not recommended. I thought they would germinate before I left, so I wasn't worried, but when I was leaving, only about half maybe had germinated. So what I did was I gave them all a really thorough watering, and I left the dome on. And then I left for 6 days. Again, not recommended. What happened was they got a little bit damp at the beginning, and then they got a little bit dry, but they also didn't necessarily like the dome. In general, when you have things domed, you want to take it off when you see the majority of them have germinated. So the fact that they definitely had all germinated and the dome stayed on meant that some things didn't do well. In fact, some things did something called dampening off. And I've left this little cell as a great example. You'll see that the bottom was okay, and then this top dried off and kind of curled over, it's not because it got too dry. If it got too dry, the whole stem would be like curled up like this. This means that it actually got too wet for too long, and that's why the part of it dampened off and died. There's a couple you'll see here, like where the top leaves are curling up and dying. I don't really care about those. Those are not really true leaves. You'll see like the first leaves a seedling puts on. Here's, like, you can see, aren't true leaves. So for instance, with this broccoli, this is the shape that their leaves are. This is the shape that they first come out at. Eventually these fall off anyway. You'll also see that I did have some damage with my tomato seedlings. The good news is I think I have enough to get what I want, and some of this is because they need food, which I'm going to be giving them shortly. The other thing is just this is way too thickly sowed. I really sowed thickly for some of these because the seed was quite old, and in a lot of cases I only need a couple of them. So what I'll probably do is just prune any that don't look healthy and throw them away. And for each variety, I might keep one extra and pot up, which like I said, I will be doing maybe this weekend. Oh, I also did onions, which there's a weird thing that happened with my onions. I don't know if you see it. I need to actually give them a little bit of water. But I had some germinate right away, did really, really well. And then I had like a second set of germination that are still coming out, which is great because I didn't get as many as I was thinking I would. So I appreciate the second set because it saved me from having to sow it again. And I think it won't matter as much because by the time I plant these out, I'm going to actually come back in just a little bit. I'll probably let them get an inch or so taller, and then I'll give them a haircut. But I'll trim them at the same height, so if any are smaller, they won't get caught up. And that'll just help them bulk up. So hopefully, I think there's still more than enough onions than I really need or the cottage needs. Though it won't be quite the load that I was thinking. Anyway, those are all, I said brassicas. I have cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and then all my peppers as well. So then the other thing up here, besides my little handy dandy temperature, and it's not very humid. I think I'm going to need to actually up the humidity in here. But I have a 24 cell of status. And a lot of times I'll do heat mats for germination, but I only have 2. So I put them at the bottom on the things I cared the most about, thinking that any excess heat it generates will rise and everyone will get the benefit of them. So in this one right here, we have a couple of really exciting things. So there are 3 6-packs of geraniums, 1 per type. And I think I talked about them in a video when I did a seed haul. But it's the Maverick Violet Geranium, Maverick Apple Blossom, well, it says Coleus, but it's actually geranium and a bullseye. And then I have a ton of dahlias. I have a Bee's Choice dahlia, and then I have Shooting Stars dahlia and Petite Florette dahlia. I was fortunate that my mom gifted me some seeds from Florette this year, mostly zinnias in addition to these dahlias. You can do these 4 to 8 weeks ahead of time. So I'm I would have rather done 8 weeks because then that gives you a nicer size plant to pot out. But with these and a lot of the other ones that I didn't have many seeds on, what I ended up doing was planting 1 seed per cell. And then usually in every 6-pack, I did 1 cell with 2. So if something doesn't germinate, hopefully I have enough things that I can get a good number. I planted a lot of them. With dahlias, when you're doing seed dahlias, you don't know what they're going to look like. The Shooting Star and the Petite Florette, my understanding is they were gathered from a area where they could only cross germinate certain types of dahlias. So you have a little bit of idea of what they're going to look like. The Bee's Choice is literally open field. It's interesting to see. Some of my favorite dahlias I did Bee's Choice a couple of years ago, and I've just kept propagating the tubers. And so I thought this year would be really exciting to do this. As my mom and I both watched Growing Florette this winter, and we really decided that, it would be worth giving some space to seedling dahlias, to just, kind of see what other varieties are out there and expand the types we have without buying tubers. If you want to know exactly what kind of dahlia you're getting, you need to plant a tuber or do a cutting from a dahlia. These seeds, I don't know what the genetics are going to make. Sometimes they're duds, sometimes they're beautiful. I think when I told you a couple of my favorites are I grew from seed. I think the year I grew them, I did something like 24. I kept 5 that I really loved. Now, not everything germinated, not everything thrived, and some of them were duds. But at the end of the day, I was really pleased with that. I am going to be doing a dahlia video coming up, probably in the next month or so, pulling my tubers out of storage. So check back if you want to learn more about that side of things. So that was that tray. As we move over, this is an entire tray of Bolero marigolds. They're a dwarf marigold that I use in a lot of different places. And then moving another one over from that, we have a tray of alyssum. I actually have 2 trays of alyssum, one right here. And then right here, we have all my coleus. Coleus seeds are super small and they like heat to germinate. So I gave them the heat mat, and I know I talked about all the varieties in that seed haul video. And then the last tray I sowed today was a dwarf French marigold mix. So that's where I am with seed starting this year. I'm not doing quite the volume that I've typically done, which you might not realize considering I'm still doing a great volume, and I've yet to seed some things that need to be done closer to my frost date. So there are more seeds to come, but one of the things I'm really focusing on this year is getting beds set up and not necessarily doing some of those cutting flowers that I've done in the past. I'm definitely still doing a good number of them, but instead of planting, I don't know, 72 or 120 different zinnia plants, I'm probably gonna plant, well, 40. So still a good number, but not quite the same volume that I have in the past. I'm sure I'll get back to that volume once I get the bed set up, especially as I'm waiting for things to fill in. One of my favorite things to do in a newer bed until the perennials and shrubs put on some size is fill in annuals for a beautiful summer show, especially things from seeds. It's a very economical way to do that. So I think next year I'll probably do a lot more. I actually went outside earlier today and was measuring things for some plans that I'm going to discuss in the next video, where we will check in on the seeds that I winter sowed. I have a couple more things to winter sow, and there's a couple updates about the plans I have for where the vegetable garden is going to go. So if you don't want to miss that, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button for this video and subscribe. I really appreciate you joining me, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye-bye.